You do not need to control the world. You just need to control four things: your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind. Master these four, and the world outside will begin to bend to your will. But miss even one of them, and life will quickly remind you who is truly in charge. You can be intelligent, talented, and even well-intentioned. But if you cannot control your tongue when you are angry, your thoughts when you are afraid, your mood when things go wrong, or your money when temptation strikes, then you are not in control of your life. You are simply reacting to it. The Stoics understood this principle more deeply than anyone. True freedom does not begin with what you own, the job you have, or the power you wield over others. It begins and ends with what you can control. This is not your boss, not your past, not their opinions of you. It is yourself. It is your discipline, your restraint, your ability to pause when the average person would explode. It is the strength to walk away when most would chase, and the wisdom to choose silence over noise and stillness over chaos. So in this video, we are going to deconstruct the four silent forces that shape everything in your reality: your words, your emotions, your finances, and your inner world. This is not just another piece of motivation that fades after a few hours. This is a practical manual for self-mastery. The choice presented is simple and stark. If you learn to control these four domains, you will build a life so resilient that no external storm can shake its foundations. But if you allow them to control you, you will watch your future collapse quietly, not from an external attack, but from the inside out. This is the fundamental battle of your life: to become the master of your own impulses or to remain a lifelong slave to them. The path to power is internal. Let's begin. The first pillar of your inner fortress is the control of your mouth. The tongue has no bones, yet it possesses the power to break trust, kill opportunities, and burn bridges that no apology can ever truly rebuild. Consider the story of a solid man, 7 years deep in his company, known for being quietly competent and always prepared. He wasn't the loudest person in the room, but when he spoke, people listened. Until one day, during a critical leadership meeting, a younger colleague was chosen to present a strategy that he had helped build. Frustrated with how it was being delivered, he interrupted mid-presentation. His voice was raised, his tone was sharp, and the entire room went silent. In that single moment, he may have been factually correct, but from that day on, no one looked at him in the same way. This is the danger. You can win the argument and still lose the war. You can speak the truth and still destroy your credibility if you cannot control the delivery. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Words are not weapons, they are tools. And like any powerful tool, when used at the wrong time or with the wrong intention, they cause far more harm than good. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. A wise person does not speak to prove a point. They speak to clarify. And very often they understand that the most powerful position is to wait. Let's be honest with ourselves. You rarely get into serious trouble for the things you didn't say. Trouble begins the moment your mouth runs ahead of your mind, and the regret that follows is immense, not just because of the damage it caused to others, but because deep down you knew you didn't have to say it. Our modern culture is a sea of noise. Everyone has something to say, everyone is interrupting, reacting, and correcting, yet almost no one is truly listening. In this environment, disciplined speech becomes a form of power. When someone enters a room and says less, when they pause before they speak, when their words feel measured and earned, people take notice. In a world addicted to noise, discipline is magnetic. Think about the last time you said something out of pure anger to someone you care about. You apologized and they forgave you. But that small seed of doubt has been planted. A quiet voice in their head now whispers, "So that's what they really think of me." And you can never fully unsay it. Controlling your mouth is not a sign of weakness. It is the act of mastering the most dangerous weapon you carry with you at all times. Your words can open doors or seal them shut forever. Before you are tempted to snap, to gossip, to complain, or just to fill the silence, ask yourself 3 questions. Is this necessary? Is this constructive? Am I adding light or just more noise? In the end, you will not be remembered for how loudly you spoke, but for whether your words meant something or nothing at all. Control your mouth. Speak less, mean more, and let your silence speak louder than most people shouting ever could. The second pillar of your inner fortress is the control of your mind. Your mind is not a passive mirror of the world. It is an active projector reflecting only what you have chosen to focus on. Most people lose their greatest battles not in action, but in thought. Long before failure becomes a reality in the external world, they have already surrendered mentally. Consider the story of the man who lost everything, not because the world collapsed, but because his own mind did. After getting laid off, he told himself that no one was hiring, that he was too old, that the situation was hopeless. His friends would check in, offering real job opportunities, but he ghosted them. The opportunities were real, but his thoughts told him they weren't meant for him. This is how most futures are lost, not to circumstance, but to a defeated mindset. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. As the philosopher Epictetus taught, it's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. Your mind is a gate. Whatever you allow to enter, fear, anger, reactivity, self-doubt will shape everything else. Your actions, your habits, your relationships, and your ultimate outcomes. The problem is that most people don't guard this gate. They let negative thoughts sit there unchallenged, and like mold in a dark room, it spreads. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever told yourself, "I can't," before you even tried? Have you felt anxiety over something that hasn't even happened yet? That is not reality. That is an untrained mind running the show. Your mind is the battlefield of your destiny. If you do not control it, you will be ruled by fear disguised as logic and by emotion disguised as truth. Controlling your mind does not mean pretending everything is okay. It means you no longer let fleeting emotions write your life's narrative. You no longer accept every thought that appears in your head as objective truth. Instead, you learn to interrogate your inner dialogue. You ask, is this fear or is this a fact? Is this the truth or just my past trauma speaking? You don't have to silence the storm inside you. You just have to stop giving it the wheel. The tools for this mental discipline are simple but powerful. Journaling to challenge and clarify your thoughts. Meditation to observe thoughts without attachment. Reading disciplined philosophical frameworks instead of junk information. And practicing solitude to hear your own mind without the constant noise of others. Your mind is not a trash bin. Stop throwing unverified thoughts and external chaos into it and expecting to feel at peace. The person who controls their mind cannot be manipulated, cannot be thrown off course, and cannot be ruled by fear. Every war you will ever face is won or lost here, in this inner world, before the first move is ever made. The third pillar of your inner fortress is the control of your mood. You can feel everything and still let nothing control you. This is not coldness, this is mastery. An uncontrolled mood can be the most subtle saboteur in your life, leaking into every interaction and ruining opportunities that have nothing to do with its original cause. Consider the man who missed a life-changing job opportunity, not because he was unqualified, but because he walked into the interview with a bad mood. Earlier that morning, a series of minor annoyances had derailed his internal state. He spilled coffee on his shirt. Someone cut him off in traffic, and the receptionist made him wait for 20 minutes. By the time he sat across from the hiring manager, his face was tight, his tone was off, and his energy was negative. They never called him back. That is the true cost of an uncontrolled mood. It spreads beyond its trigger and infects everything that follows. The Stoics warned us about this constantly. Anger is not the problem. Sadness is not the problem. Frustration, disappointment, and anxiety are all part of the human experience. The problem arises when you allow these emotions to hijack your behavior, when you give them the keys to your entire day. You must understand that your mood is not who you are. It is simply an inner weather system, temporary, shifting, and always passing. You do not cancel all your plans just because it is raining outside. Likewise, you do not have to let your entire day be ruined just because you feel a storm of anger or sadness passing through. The real problem is rarely the initial trigger. It is the failure to take a moment to reset. The Stoic response is a simple but powerful three-step process. Pause, process, proceed. A Stoic does not ignore an emotion. They observe it. They do not pretend everything is fine. They simply refuse to hand over control of their actions. Instead of reacting on impulse, they reflect and choose their response based on their principles. You must internalize this critical distinction. Feelings are not facts. They are signals, not commands. Just because you feel something does not mean you must act on it. A practical tool for this is emotional labeling. When a powerful mood hits, simply name it. I feel frustrated. I feel dismissed. The simple act of naming the emotion creates a small distance between you and the feeling. In that distance, clarity is born. From that space of clarity, you can then ask yourself, what would a stronger version of me do right now? And then you do that. If you do not control your mood will control your words, your choices, and your results. Do not chase a perfect, carefree day. That is unrealistic. Instead, chase emotional mastery. Train yourself to stay calm when it's storming inside. Train yourself to respond like a person of principle, not a slave to passing feelings. When you can hold your center, the world becomes far less intimidating and you become far more powerful. The fourth and final pillar of your inner fortress is the control of your money. Money does not change who you are. It simply exposes how much control you truly have over yourself. This pillar is not about becoming rich. It is about becoming free. The modern world doesn't enslave you with physical chains. It enslaves you with payments. You are bound by monthly debts that create mental and spiritual burdens. You cannot build a life of peace when you are simultaneously building a mountain of debt. You cannot build real power when you have traded your long-term discipline for short-term pleasure. Consider the person who drives a car. They can't afford to impress people they don't respect, all while drowning in debt behind the scenes. This is not freedom, it is a cage decorated to look like a throne. The Stoics spoke deeply about this, not in terms of finance, but in terms of attachment and the addiction to comfort. The philosopher Epictetus warned, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Most people today do not have a money problem. They have a self-control problem, and I deserve this problem. They are not spending money. They are spending their future peace of mind and calling it happiness. If you cannot say no to what you want now, you will never have what you truly need later. A Stoic's approach to wealth is fundamentally different. They do not build wealth to show off. They build it to protect their freedom and to ensure they never become a beggar, not for money, not for favors, and not for approval. Dependence in any form is a silent cage. Financial discipline, such as budgeting, is not designed to restrict joy, but to protect freedom. You save because storms come without warning. You avoid debt because the interest you pay isn't just financial, it's mental. Debt steals more than your dollars, it steals your options. It makes you say yes to jobs you hate and keeps you up at night. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the future you will live in. Before you make a purchase, ask yourself a simple question. Does this support the person I'm trying to become? Is this a reward for real progress, or is it an emotional reaction to a fleeting mood? If your mood controls your money, you are already broke, regardless of your income. A person who cannot control their money will always be at the mercy of someone who can. Control your money because financial freedom isn't about being rich. It's about no longer being a slave. The person who controls himself cannot be controlled by anyone else. We have now examined the 4 pillars of inner power: your mouth, your mind, your mood, and your money. True freedom is not found in mastering just one of these domains. It comes from their integration. It is born from internal discipline. Look around you. You will see people addicted to impulse, reacting to every insult, spending every dollar, and craving validation for every step they take. They are not free, they are just loud. Underneath all that noise is fear. A Stoic lives differently. They are not cold or emotionless. They just don't hand over the keys to their inner peace every time life gets messy. They don't yell because they have nothing to prove. They don't overspend because They know that real power is quiet. Discipline is their armor. It allows them to walk into the world steady, not because the world is easy, but because they are no longer fragile on the inside. Ask yourself this question. What would your life look like if your emotions didn't control your mornings? If your thoughts didn't spiral into chaos every night? If your words always matched your wisdom and your wallet always reflected your values? That is not a distant dream. That is what happens when you begin to choose control over comfort. The great paradox that most people never learn is this: discipline does not cage you, it liberates you. When you control your speech, you build trust. When you control your thoughts, you unlock clarity. When you control your emotions, you win battles without ever starting wars. When you control your money, you move through life freely instead of begging for options. If you want real power, stop trying to control people, outcomes, or their opinions of you. Start with the battlefield inside yourself, because the person who wins there cannot be stopped anywhere else. You will never be truly free until you become the master of your own impulses. You are both the architect and the saboteur, the protector and the prisoner. You don't need more motivation, you need more ownership. It is time to look in the mirror and ask the hard questions. Am I controlled by my mood? Am I leaking power through my words? Is my mind working for me or against me? If any of the answers hurt, good. That means you're ready to change. Start small. Speak with more purpose. Think with more clarity. Feel with more balance. Spend with more intention. Control these 4 pillars and watch the rest of your life begin to bend to your will. This isn't about being perfect. It's about never again being passive. No one is coming to save you but you. Your next chapter starts now.